Good evening, Insider fans, and welcome to another edition of the Pro Wrestling Reality Podcast. Now, today we're going to look at a topic that I personally have been, very interested in. It wasn't too long ago when Monday nights, up in that New York company were really, some of the most important broadcasts that company would put out, and some of the most significant live editions of their programming that they would have. We used to have stars all the way from Hulk Hogan, HBK, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, and then to the more modern era stars like John Cena were the staples of that Monday Night Raw show. There was tremendous talent, often featured in significantly powerful main event spots. But all that seems to be changing now as we head into the more modern era. And we're going to be discussing that tonight. But first, I just want to have a couple words on the company's most recent crown jewel Saudi Arabia event, which was, it had a lot of fans very divided. It had a lot of fans talking. And I want to give some thoughts on some of the highlight, at least what I felt were some of the highlight matches of that event, because there's a lot to really say, but myself, I found that it was a rare instance where New York just, with its event, didn't really have anything to say to an audience that we already didn't know. So I'm just kind of perusing through the card here, and I'm going to give my thoughts on what I thought were the highlight matches and performances of the show. So to start off, we had Solo Sikoa and John Cena on that stage. Now, for me personally, I think that the Fatus, that monumental New York family, the Fatus, have a lot of power up in New York. I think they have a lot of advantages that other talent don't have. And it was surprising to see, major $1 million box office entertainment star John Cena share that stage with another Fatu boy, this time Solo Sikoa. And a lot of fans felt the build was quite significant and that it had a really good build and storyline behind it. Me, not so much. There's so many other talent in New York at this time that I think could have really benefited from John Cena giving it to them instead of another Fatu boy. We have the Uso brothers. We have Roman Reigns. And before that, we had Dwayne Rock Johnson, which, he broke a lot of glass ceilings in this industry with his time up in New York. But to see now a relative newcomer coming into New York and getting to share that stage with Cena, I don't really buy it personally. And it's hard to see Cena at this stage in the career now that he's taking the loss from guys that personally I don't really feel are on that level of being a major, top level arena selling talent. So I was quite disappointed by that match. I really thought that Cena would be somebody who would, come up and share, a win with the audience and have us celebrate his history And I think there's a lot of other talent in the back right now that could have really benefited from Cena giving it up to them. We also had, which I want to speak about here, Logan Paul, former and I guess current YouTube sensation, saying here that he has over 23 million subscribers on the YouTube channel, taking on Lucha Libre legend Rey Mysterio in a singles match for that now WWE United States Championship. And again, this is a perfect example of why I feel that the event just didn't have anything to say. I mean, we know that Paul is a tremendous in-ring talent. He may, in fact, be one of the best celebrity performers that we have seen in New York, as he really is getting in there. You know, he's taking up that stage. He's having monumental performance after monumental performance. And with a talent like Ray, I think it really was a great opportunity for him to show that talent, that high flying, risk taking style that he does, and to have it take place on quite a monumental stage and with a quite monumental performer as well in Rey Mysterio. But although the work rate, again, was good, it didn't really build to anything. It didn't really tell us anything. It doesn't show where we're going next. Um, I think the only takeaway from it was that it's pretty clear that Paul is going to be around. And I think on social media he even made the comments that, hey, I'm a champion in New York now. I should be showing up more. And in my opinion, I would like to see Paul, have more of a prominent spot in New York. I'd like to see him doing the week to week performance because he really is an undeniable talent. Ray, on the other hand, is at the end of his career. And as I was mentioning with Cena, I think Paul really is a guy that could benefit from, getting the 1, 2, 3 over an already established name. And I think he did a great job on the card. We also had, again, a Cody Rhodes performance. He is a guy, and I've said this to other insiders, and they agree with me. I really feel that Rhodes is a talent who I can't really ever see him being that main event month to month level talent. The same way somebody like a Brock Lesnar or someone like even a Roman Reigns or a John Cena is. But he could very well be the guy who's going face to face with that future main event talent, whoever that may end up being. And I don't really buy him as this must watch month to month pay per view performer. As we see here, he's floundering sort of in the mid card with Damian Priest from that Judgment Day stable. No title on the line, not really much of a build. He's just kind of thrown out there. But I really feel the best thing about Rhodes now, and a lot of people disagree with me on this, he will be the star who helps create the next generation talent. But I don't think he will ever really be that major billboard name that I think a lot of fans see him as. And of course, we also had the main event, Roman Reigns taking on the LA Knight, who we're going to speak about later on the program. And again, what did it really have to say? I think the work rate was great in that match. LA Knight taking up that stage in a main event spot was quite significant for this stage of the career. But I thought the match itself was subpar. It didn't really tell me anything I didn't already know. I already know that LA Knight is getting the reactions. We already know that Roman Reigns is that top main event level talent. And that's kind of it. There's nothing else really to be said. Overall, I did not think the pay-per-view really was a significant must-watch event the way other monthly pay-per-views are, but I gotta say the work rate that I see was quite good. So we're gonna move from that and we're gonna talk about today's topic, which I find very interesting. The question tonight is, and I'd love to get some feedback in the comments if you agree, that Monday Night Raw is really becoming the B show now. I remember a few weeks ago, it was SmackDown that was featuring Dwayne Rock Johnson. It was SmackDown that was featuring John Cena's return. And a couple weeks ago, I remember they did a segment that some other insider fans shared with me. Although I already watched the show, it really showed me that the fans are clamoring, that the fans are hot, that the fans are dedicated to this LA Knight character. And it took me a while to really see the character in action. And when I did, it was a segment where, he pulls up in the car, he walks out, he's heading into the arena, and, I really, personally, felt the electricity. It was in the air that night. Cena had the return, and we were seeing this new talent now, the LA Knight, walking into the arena, really finally coming into his character, and for just a brief, slight moment, I really did feel personally, and other insiders agree with me, that I was, for just that brief, slight moment, seeing Austin, walking into the arena at the peak of 97 when he really just started to hit the peak of his character. And on the other hand, when we look at Monday Night Raw, I mean, we are having matches like AJ Styles taking on Sami Zayn. We're having matches like, Dominic Mysterio taking on one of the Uso brothers. I mean, where was Dwayne Johnson? Where was John Cena? And the answer was nowhere to be found. It just goes to show that I think when you break down each of the programs, you take SmackDown, you take Raw, you take NXT, they all fall onto their own separate character, their own category. And I think when you take Monday Night Raw, I think it's solely based on entertainment. You take SmackDown, and it seems to be now more focused on those major names, past and present, and potentially future. And when you look at something like NXT, it's work rate. And the more I watch Monday Night Raw, the more disappointed that I become. And I'm always looking forward to the big names on the SmackDown New York program in comparison. It's just clear to me that compared to the past generations, that Monday Night Raw is just not that Saturday Night Live alternative that it once was. I mean, back in the days, we had major main events, major storylines taking place. But now, it just seems a resting ground for a lot of B-level talent, a lot of guys that never really have done much in this industry. I'm just pulling up the roster right now as of November 6th. And I'm looking at names like Akira Toawa. I'm looking at names like Brutus Creed, who I've never personally heard of before. Um, Chad Gable. And of course, Cody Rhodes, who I guess you could argue, I mean, he is a monumental name, even though I may not feel that way. He's selling the merchandise. He's having those significant events on pay-per-view. Dominic Mysterio, the son of Lucha Libre legend Rey. Funaki, who I never even was aware was still involved with the company. I'm just looking at these names and I'm not seeing anyone who really can pull the needle forward here. And it's quite disappointing to see. But on SmackDown, on the other hand, I mean, look at the names that they have. The LA Knight, Rey Mysterio, John Cena, Kevin Owens, Luke Gallows, Logan Paul. I mean, Paul Heyman is even featured, even though I have heat with Heyman. He's on there alongside with Roman Reigns. We got Sheamus. And we do have that Solo Sakita, who's on SmackDown as well, who I guess is really looked at as upcoming fresh talent. A lot more interesting names are definitely on the SmackDown roster as of now. And it's going to be really interesting to see where things go going forward. I mean, with Cena taking the 1, 2, 3, does that mean that we're kind of at the end of his career now? Because I really think he still could have a big program. I look back to some of the work that Cena did with Mizan on that stage, where I felt Cena was almost kind of in that heel role, where he was pointing out that he was successful in Hollywood and Mizanin wasn't, that Mizanin may be able to host a Dancing with the Stars, but he's not featured in major box office television or film projects. And I think that had Mizanin really hot because I think, as I mentioned in one of my investigations prior, I just think Mizanin is a guy. He's a WWE guy. He's a New York guy. You know, he can be on the game show. He can be on the reality series. But he can never really quite break that glass ceiling the way that talent like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was able to. Even John Cena. So I think there's a lot of heat there when a part-time legend returns to the ring for Mizanin. And I think he's quite hot about that. I mean, this is a guy who came from having a legend like Chris Benoit kicking him out of the locker room to where he is now, where he is almost like the modern day legend. You know, I would assume that a lot of the younger generation now are walking up to Mizanin and asking, you know, for advice or, you know, just to get some insight on their stage work. And it's quite interesting. So, in a way, I think the generation has really shifted over, where SmackDown really is the show to be watching. And Raw, Monday Night Raw, really is struggling right now. I mean, I added some photos on the side scroll there showing the attendance, and the attendance for those Monday Night Raw events are really floundering. They're just not selling out the major arenas that they once did at the peak of 97, 98, 99, 2000, all the way possibly to maybe early '05. I mean, they are really struggling to fill those seats. And it's because the energy and the passion and the big names are all featured on which once was considered the B show. And even myself as a fan, I find myself much more looking forward to those weekly SmackDown events than anything that's often presented to me on Monday Night Raw. I mean, the cards on Monday Night Raw are just so dated now. And SmackDown is definitely where the energy is, it's where the excitement is, it's where we're seeing legends at their absolute peaks. And I think it's a generation shift now. I think the generation is shifting over, where we're going to see a lot of legends ending their careers on SmackDown. I mean, even recently, Mark Calloway, The Undertaker, took up that NXT stage. And, we got a little peek of what it could be like seeing a match with Mark at this stage in his career. And I thought that was just unbelievable. And it was exciting. And it was a glimpse back into the past of Mark at the peak of his career, getting in there with the young guys and doing his thing. And I thought that was very exciting. Why wasn't it on the Monday Night Raw? Because for Mark, I'm sure when he sees work rate on that stage, and you see a picture now of what the arenas once were, he feels that that's where the energy is for him. NXT with the young guys who are doing monumental performance after monumental performance. But I'm going to leave the question to you, the audience. Is Monday Night Raw becoming the B show? Or is it still that must-watch weekly program that it once was? And I want to thank everyone